Hey, what's up, kiddos? This should be quick. It needs to be quick. So the current description is the thing that it should be because I'm gonna go play MLB The Show 19. Since I'm, super lucky to be getting that copy 6 months after I asked for it. Um, but maybe this will be a test to see how much I actually give a shit about my fake ass channel, and actually go into it and change the description of this broadcast when it turns into a live replay to adequately reflect the actual game that's being fucking shown. Unlikely. I don't have much as far as like motivation or I wouldn't really call that like a sense of responsibility, but I definitely don't have that either. So whatever the thing is between those two things, I don't have any of that in general, especially not for something that doesn't really exist, in which a kind of shit talker during the MLB session that just ended about an hour or so ago and went for 6 hours because I'm uh, apparently crazy with nothing better to do in my life. Um, a guy came in relatively early on asking for sub, and I was on this screen, so I couldn't even see the chat. So it's set up so that it makes a noise if someone like it speaks the chat, but it's like a combination between two retarded subway PA announcers um, got together. It sounds like that. So it's just a noise, like a garbled mumble sort of thing. No matter what they've said, generally. So now I have to go in and switch the screen to the thing where it's got the message on the bottom and the chat stuff on the right side or whatever. Dude wanted sub for sub. I'm like, I fine, whatever. I don't care. I told him I'd go in and look if he sent me his info. If he has, I haven't seen it. I don't even know what form it comes in because I haven't dealt with that in a very long time. Um, but I was like, send me the link, hit me. Here's my ID on PSN. Send me something there. I'm all my settings are set to private. He probably couldn't do that if he wanted to, but I kind of wanted him to stop, despite the fact that I rarely ever get anybody into these things, no matter what game it is that I'm showing. Uh, so I just kind of wanted it to end, kind of diffuse it, but was basically honest. Where I was like, yeah, I don't give a shit. You don't even have to sub to mine. I'll just sub to yours. Just tell me what yours is. I'll sub to it. Because let's be honest, I can sub to it and then set up the settings so that it never notifies me and I don't like it never pops up on my screen. Because I'm on YouTube almost like constantly, not as a YouTuber, not as a broadcaster, even though I do have this fake ass channel here. But for a lot of content that I consume, I enjoy doing it through that medium, which is for stupid people. In other words, basically the majority of humans. The singular version of the word media, which is a plural Latin word, is medium, not the fucktard liars that pretend like they can talk to dead people after having done extensive research on you and your background and your family history and stuff like that, and then make up shit when you show up for it. Not that. It's just a word which, in this specific case, doesn't mean sort of a middle point between small and large, or here in America, extra large and extra extra large, whether it's soft drinks or the clothes that you have to wear after drinking all those soft drinks. It actually means it's the singular version, non-pluralized, of media. A single form of media is medium. So the medium of YouTube, I consume quite a bit there. Um, it's kind of like my go-to. Is one of the quickest things that I can just kind of turn on, and I'm sure I'll find something that will pique my interest for the 2.5 minutes that I'm looking to take up at the moment. So um, I wouldn't care at all if I had subbed him. I don't have a ton of subs actually, because Spoiler alert: Google, which is technically now called Alphabet, which wholly owns YouTube, uh, knows more about you than you do. It knows more about you than you even think is possible to know about you, and so it's gonna pop up with the things anyways. You have to actively, continuously tell it. No, no, no. I know I clicked on that thing that one time, may have even watched half of it, no matter how long it was. I have already blocked them and reported them and done everything that I can. Please never put that into my purview ever again. Which means that the next day when you turn it on, it'll be at least in the first 10 things that show up for you to view. So I don't care that much about what I am and I'm not subbed to, and I'm not subbed to too many things. I'm actually subbed to a few things that basically don't even put out content anymore. And with NHL 19 ending and me probably not, hopefully not, transitioning into the NHL 20, despite the very solid discounts that they're willing to give to us. Um, I'll probably cut back on some of those subs because I'm subbed to some legit monetized, typically EA Game Changers, who are NHL 19 YouTubers as of today, and in less than a month they'll be NHL 20 YouTubers. So, point being, I wouldn't have given a shit if I'd subbed to the dude. If he's trolling random pop-ups for asking sub for sub, I'm sure it's top notch, content and quality on his channel. Um, and I'm sure I'll love it. Uh, I did do that once before, like in this last year, where that exact thing came down. Someone came and asked sub for sub, said I don't give a shit, fine, whatever. Sub to them. I don't even like bother to track my subs. I know they initially had subbed. I got that notification, but I ended up turning that stuff off, so I don't even know when new people come in anymore. Which he told me that there's 12. He said 13 first, then he backed it down to 12. I'm not really sure what that was about. I don't see a significant difference on my fake ass channel of whether I have a baker's dozen or an actual dozen. Um, so even though I am a bit superstitious and don't particularly care for the number 13. In fact, yeah, at the moment, because I got a couple of things that are making a little extra noise. My TV is set to volume level 14, and more often than not, unless I'm going kind of low to like 10, but not for watching things. If I'm watching something, it's got to be, I don't know, at least 18, like 20 plus. But when it's just this, and I just have to have kind of some volume coming at me, even though there's literally nothing coming from the screen right now, as you can hear for yourself. Generally, I'm gonna be at a 12. That's where that's kind of my comfort zone. Whether I'm explaining stuff about a game, which has been basically the majority of the last 2 months of this game, because there wasn't much gameplay to be had. Or if it's gameplay, whether I have the mic in and I'm talking or not. So I'm gonna generally be at a 12, and yeah, I am kind of that. I don't know if it's technically considered like an anal retentive or whatever type of thing, or just kind of a weird, like, okay, maybe I'm not totally into numerology, but at the same time, why chance it? You know what I mean? Like, if I were to get a cat, I'm probably not gonna go with a black one. Looking at you, no sleeves 12. It's just one of those things. Plus, I have enough pussy in my life. I don't need I don't need to get a cat. More to the point, let's get to the actual point of what I'm doing here. I just felt like being a dick at the beginning of this. That was fun. So point is, I've not subbed to that guy, and I don't have notifications. So I don't know if he subbed to me. And apparently, according to him, I think that he would have made unless he was counting himself in the 12. I guess he would have, which seemed unlikely because I think that his specific comment was, okay, I thought you when I was like, I don't care what you do, man. I'll sub. It doesn't matter. You don't have to sub to me. He's like, something to the effect of like, well, I thought you needed the help because you've only got, again, at first you said 13 subs, and then I said, oh, okay, 13, well, that's like 8 more than I thought I had and have had most of the time when I've looked at it, which is basically never. And I thought that I'd maxed when I first started at like 10. So, it's more. So you thought you were basically talking shit from somebody that you wanted something from, which is lovely how we interact in 2019. Yeah, so he thought he was talking shit, and it was actually like almost like a compliment. Cause I was like, oh, I didn't know I had that many. Apparently, there've been more. There's been more fake accounts that troll to try to get people to connect to their, pay for porn and like, I guess, like back end like hooker stuff, which you probably don't even. You probably just pay. They probably don't actually show up at your door. Although I don't personally feel like chancing either of those aspects, giving away money or potentially having someone show up my door because I've given them my information. So there's enough of those fake ass pretending to be a girl but clearly a dude, probably asking me for dick pics if I ever engage in a conversation with them, because that's what that is usually, or just trying to sell you on whatever it is they're trying to sell you on. Spam, in other words, and stuff that should get blasted off. But apparently, I'm guessing that the only way that thing can be at 12 or 13 at this point is that because there are like 2 or 3 real ones, and then there's like another maybe 1 or 2 of like people I know who had subbed before, but I don't really engage with at the moment. I haven't really for almost this entire calendar year. So, pardon me. So, like, again, I don't look at the list, so I don't even know who is and who's not. So that's why it seemed to me like it could be at 5, even without none of them actually like dinging the bell and signing up to get notifications, or even like seeing like, oh, he's live, I'll go listen to that nonsense. So the rest, I'm assuming, has to be filled in by those fake spam pretending to be girl, sexually related in some way things that apparently haven't gotten kicked off of PSN yet. So they're still listed as subs in my channel. So good on you, boy, for pointing out that I'm apparently earlier today I was at 12 or 13. But the fun part is I don't give a shit at all. I'm not here for that. I don't want that number to really go up all that much. I think you get something at 100, which is probably meaningless, and then like the real numbers I think are at like I don't know if they've dropped it. I could see rationale for why they would drop it or increase it, but I think it's 1,000. It could be as low as 500. Once you get to there, then you can be considered like an actual channel. And so yeah, I need to never have that happen, or I'd have to basically purge 98% of the content that is currently on here that hasn't been blocked due to copyright stuff, which is why I've turned off music in all games, just because fuck them. I don't want them to have the bots automatically block something because there's a background song from some artist that I've never heard of ever before and have never heard of ever again, that had their label has these bots and these spiders, etc., that just scour and do these massively quick searches not even just for like because they especially for modern music or any remasters, which you got to watch out for as well. They imprint the actual well, both the code behind it, but as well as the actual music itself with the identifiers. So it just makes it that much easier for them. It's like basically instantaneous. It's like, all right, ding, 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 and it's all automated, which is should be understood because I said the word bot. So point being, that's the reason why there's mostly no music on this channel, except when I feel like playing my own stuff, and I own that. So and I'm not the original artist on any of it because I'm not musically inclined. But fuck anybody that has ever been included in anything that I've done with that feels like they should get a live broadcast replay that gets put on YouTube for a channel that has massively grown to 12 or 13, possibly 14 if that dude was at 13 and subbed earlier today, but I'm sure he'll leave when I don't figure out how to sub to his thing. So massively increased, and averages no more than 5 views on any of these, and doesn't have proper thumbnails or descriptions, and like this right now says it's on the wrong game, and is just chock full of what plenty of people would consider inappropriate language, either in terms of like the words themselves or how I convey them. All fun shit as far as I'm concerned, which is why I would literally blow up the channel. I would delete the channel forever if it suddenly became real and was monetized. I'm so adverse. I don't think that's really a pun, so I can't say no pun intended. But I'm so adverse to advertisements, particularly in what's supposed to be a mostly or totally free medium, such as YouTube. So I don't want any of you, even if I go off for 8 hours, I don't want you to have to sit through any ads to be able to watch that. Pro tip: if you do that on a device, like a mobile device, like your phone, you're probably going to end up with like at least one on there, even though the channel's not monetized and I don't get any money from that, just because, you know, it is Alphabet, Google, YouTube. They're going to want some money. So there's a good chance that I can't say in good faith, because I don't even pay attention or care what it's really like for the end user on review or replay of these things, of like whether or not they'd have to sit through ads or sit through the first 3 seconds or whatever before clicking the skip ads button, or like me, you know, being a very excellent patron for YouTube. When they ask me that question, which only, again, for me happens strictly on the mobile devices, never ever pops up when using YouTube and other formats, like through this PS4 that I'm using this to broadcast this game and play the game on. That's kind of my pro tip that I was getting at, was watch stuff on there on your TV, and you might not be able to completely escape the ads, but it's practically ad free. Whereas like your phone is like practically ad full. You can watch it if you watch NHL 19 stuff. One of the few people that is still doing NHL 19 content today, or earlier today, I guess, and says he's going to try to go for the next 2 weeks, is Thrash, and his latest 15-minute video that I was trying to watch the whole thing of. I was busy doing something else, so I was watching it on my phone, which isn't even like a calling phone. It's just a mobile device that happens to be packaged and sold as a phone. And 15 minutes of that had four ad stops during the thing, and obviously his whole thing's monetized and he's got tons of subs, and and lots of people commenting whenever he does live stuff, which tends to happen more over on Twitch now, I guess, than it did previously. Tons of people will come on and watch and comment in and all that. So it's all great. There's hopefully money coming in there because he seems to have spent a fuck ton on the game this year. So I wouldn't want him to have had that as a total and complete loss. So have something coming back for his efforts would be nice. But yeah, had four ad stops in a 15-minute video, and that's just absurd. I'm through the PS4 Pro that I'm using for this to be a creator. I'm not really a creator. I can watch a Joe Rogan Experience podcast, except when it's Bernie Sanders, because that was only an hour and 10 or 15 minutes, one of the shortest ones that he's ever done, and he's done 1,500 of the standard ones and probably close to 500 of the ones that I don't watch, the fight companions, and I greatly appreciate that he separates those two, so I don't ever have to watch the other ones that I have no interest in. And so the normal ones, when they say the name of the person and I don't know who it is, I think that there's at least a halfway decent chance that the whole discussion is not going to be about MMA, because then it should have been put on the other kind of sub aspect of his channel on YouTube, even though there's plenty of platforms that thing goes off on. Point being, the normal ones for him are a minimum of 2 hours, probably more like a minimum of 2.5 hours, not even on average, just in general. They're redefining long form. So it's basically 3 hours, 3.5 hours, sometimes longer. And so I can sit through and watch, maybe not from start to finish with no breaks on my end. I might, go take a piss or something, come back. But I can do 3.5 hours of, an episode of one of his podcasts, technically speaking, is what it's called. And not be inundated with a single ad. It's that great. So, and that's, I'm not saying that he shouldn't also be able to, kind of supplement his income from the fact that I'm consuming the thing that he's putting out, but I get the sense that he's not doing it for commercial reasons. So, that's solid. And there's other people who probably are also not doing their things for commercial, well, at least not strictly for commercial reasons either, but yeah, it is what it is. So, moving on, prior to that 6 hours of MLB that I'm going to immediately jump right back into as soon as I can do this one, that I've now gone about 40 times longer than I expected to. The previous broadcast on here that I think I changed to say NHL 19 on it, or maybe pretended like it was a live look at an NHL 20, just because it's not really trolling. It's just kind of fun to fuck with people who don't realize that would be illegal for me to do, or would at least be illegal for someone to have provided that access, or the content that I would be showing. I'm not under any obligations, but it would get banned immediately. So what that was on NHL 19 was I must have been 4 a.m. Am I getting this right? Hold on. No, I don't fucking know. It was either 2 a.m. or 4 a.m. Pacific time, this morning, I think, is when the most recent season of Hut Champs in this game had ended, and thankfully very few people play the game anymore. So despite the fact that I don't have an ability or even much of a desire to try to win, but I don't have an ability to win even if I wanted to try. If I feel like going through the motions, I will I'll play the minimum 5 games just to qualify, and generally speaking, I will complete the game, especially if I'm going to be AFK, because you gotta take some shit sometimes. Um, and or I actually do it sometimes when I'm showering because I take way longer showers than a normal man, I guess. Um, so those two things can happen. And if you only need to do it once per day to meet your dailies, then great. But if I have a daily where that's part of the requirement, when I still care really about getting the monthly rewards, and at the moment it's really a struggle for me to care about these August ones, because I mostly got the things that I wanted to get. I'll be interested to see what, if anything, they put up for September, and because and then I would expect that all aspects of the game would die once 20's out. So there'll be nothing in NHL 19 once October of 2019 rolls around, and NHL 20 has been in full force for 3/4 of a month at that point. Would be my guess, but I don't know. So when September actually comes around and the August shit is no longer popping off on the monthly rewards, I'll be interested to see what they put up, if anything, and what it is. I would imagine it would be difficult for them to make September anything like August was, because some of the stuff for August, well, the Ferraro one in particular required you to have done the collectibles trade-in for Ferraro in July. And if you're like me and opted not to do that because I didn't see value in it, that meant that you don't have the card from that month, and that's the card that you need in this month to do the August upgrade. So I did the ones that I wanted to do. I think it was Messier. Yeah, it was Messier, which again you needed to have done last month, but I did the one last month of turning in his Canucks alumni 99 overall card, and then turning that with probably only like 5 or 6 collectibles. It was like a very small amount in my opinion, but probably shouldn't have required that many more for August for hockey. You could trade that in for a 99 overall New York Rangers Messier, and the Rangers one it's not just cosmetic, which shouldn't matter anyways, because when you play, every player on your team plays with the uniform that you have selected, so it doesn't really matter what team they're actually from, in my opinion, but whatever. So it's kind of like a cosmetic thing of just when the card pops up after you've scored a goal or had an assist. That's kind of the only time that it would ever really matter, or when somebody wants to, probably during intermission, check out which cards you have of those players, because they can already see the names during the gameplay. So point being, if it was simply just the exact same card as a Canucks alumni and transferring it over to Rangers, first off, I would never do that. I fucking hate the Rangers and the Islanders and everything associated with the MSG organization, mostly because of the family / main person of that family that runs that organization and is a tremendous piece of shit, both personally and professionally. Plus I'm Chicago and they're New York, so I gotta like hate some stuff that New York does. It's just like a requirement of my city. So yeah, I would have never, and it's not like I'm a fan of Vancouver or the Canucks, but if you gave me the choice between the two, I would never like actively be like, I want the Rangers version of that, which is simply cosmetic and doesn't actually wear the jersey in the game. So it wasn't simply cosmetic. It was an increase. It might have looked on paper with the underlying stats as being a relatively small, maybe meaningless increase. It absolutely was not. The Rangers version plays so much better. It's practically absurd how much better it is with a very small tweak. I mean, his shots are maxed out where it wasn't on the Canucks one, even though they're basically maxed out on my team anyways because of the synergies that I always have activated. But either way, there's probably some sort of like, confirmational bias, placebo effect, all that kind of crap going on for me on it. But at the same time, because I didn't look at like the underlying data or whatever, but it feels like it plays really well, and he in the few games that I've bothered to play this month, he has he has he has he has been a factor for sure. So I did that, and I did I don't know, I've done Madano and Sakic and Makita. I don't remember which of those is which month. I think the Makita one was this month as well. And then I don't know about the rest. Um, and I didn't I didn't realize until like a week ago, I think, that if you had, especially if you, well, whatever reason you would have chosen to do it, if you had just simply saved up your collectibles, I forget what the number was that you needed. I don't remember if it was 60 or more, like maybe 70. I doubt that it would have been 90, but I guess yeah, it couldn't have been 90 because that would have been the full month. So it would, I think it was 60. You could trade in 60 collectibles for any one of the 7 August monthly legend upgrades. So Makita and the upgrade to Messier, regardless of whether you had a version of him before, and a couple others. Most of the ones that I don't even have access to, like the Newendijk. I've got the original 90 overall. I do not have the 95 Nations of Hockey one, which is the one you needed to do that trade in. So yada yada yada. I don't have most of those. I don't really know if I would have felt better about saving those collectibles that whole time and basically having nothing of action to do other than just kind of logging in and then logging back off every 8 hours or how often I can be bothered to do it. I know it's 7 hours and 50 minutes, but you get the point. So yeah, I don't know about that, but the nice thing was, if you did that, that legend became tradable. So people are selling those for like 250K. I haven't been on the auction house in a couple days because I'm playing baseball. But it I don't know. I would I feel like, sure, I feel like across the board 60 monthly collectibles in any month, but particularly in August when the game is, if dying if not dead, and nobody is playing. I think that's a relatively fair trade-off because the coins are soon going to be practically pointless, and have people that are playing 20 are unlikely to jump back onto 19 just for the purpose of trying to put something back onto the auction house, because unlike in some games, including some EA games, you can't just put it up forever until it gets picked. Like in MLB The Show, for example, you can put up an offer to either buy or sell, and it can sit there literally forever. You can actually forget that you even have it up if you're not going in and checking your active orders. I don't know about this year's current version, because again, I've been playing for like 3 days. I've logged just shy of 24 hours of gameplay, which includes stuff like me sitting on a screen like this and not actually playing. So I don't know if they've tweaked like this current version's year to say like, okay, this has been up for a month, like let's take it down. But if it's up and it's actually either the bid or the ask, or close enough to the range, somebody might take you up on the offer to either buy your card or sell it to you, whichever one it is that you were trying to do. Be your counterparty to the transaction. That would very likely happen if whatever it is that you put up ended up becoming a reasonable price, or whatever. So if you were like these jackasses that put up the 99 overall gold leaf Gretzky for 10 million in the first week of the game in NHL 19 back in September of last year, if that was on MLB The Show, they could have put it up for 10 million and just left it there and just like waited until somebody misclicked buy now and happened to have 10 million coins. So Yeah, so point being, like, it would have never sold. Um, and so it would still be sitting there now for us to laugh at the stupidity of that, since it's you people are still trying to get like 1.5 million coins for that, and it obviously costs way more than that in just coins alone, even if you have a card such as the one on the screen in an untradeable format that you basically can't do anything else with other than putting into the upgrade process to get the legend. And I'm gonna get to that. That's why we're on the screen here. Um, but yeah, like even if you literally if you had the tier one, this card here, the Bernie Perrin 87 overall is a tier one. His tier two is an 88 overall. His tier three is a 90 overall. And then the legend is a 93, I think. It could be a 92, but I think it's a 93. And at this point, it doesn't really matter because a legend 93 is fucking pointless, especially with just a couple synergies. Um, you you either need to man up and turn it into a 99 with all five of the team-based synergies at 2 points apiece, or I don't know, maybe sell it to somebody else who can't do that, the upgrade with the collectibles, unless they have your legend card, but again would be much better off just straight up buying the legend outright because it's cheaper to do that. Um, so it is what it is. So point being, there's a tier one, a tier two, a tier three, and then a legend for all 30 of the alumni that were part of the legend upgrade process. So obviously, if you like, I don't know, pack or gold rare player pack a like a legend version of any of these alumni, which I guess might be possible now, then congrats, I guess. But like, you're like, if you were in the process of trying to earn the Gretzky and or Lemieux, then you just kind of fuck that up a little bit. Um, maybe not. Depends on how you play it out. But point is, typically that doesn't happen. But the other three tiers are available, and so that's 90 cards, three for each one of the 30 players, ranging from a low of 82 to a high of what? Well, the Perrin is 90, so Brett Hull's tier 3 is probably a 91, maybe a 92, but his legend is only a 94. Coffee is up there as well. I and his tier 1 is an 89, so his tier 2 is going to be a 90. Coffee is I'm talking about. So his tier 3 is probably a 92. And then I think the legend for him is also a 94. It's very confusing for me at this point because there's like so many of them are just 99s if you look in the auction market now. So doesn't matter. Point is, there's 90 of those out there. And why was I even talking about that? I'm not really sure. Oh, so yeah, so like, let's say untradeable or not, doesn't matter. For some strange reason, like instantaneously, you had none right now. You've never played the game. This is their first day playing the game, and you open up a gold pack, and for some reason, it has all 90 of the tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 alumni cards that can be turned in for legends. Um, yeah, so just thinking through that for half a second there, I just realized you don't actually need that at all. If all you're trying to do is create the actual legend card, but you would need that if you want the legend collectible from actually processing it into the next level. But it would become kind of redundant actually, because like this 87, when you turn it into an 88, if you already had the 88, and especially if that was untradeable, the one that you had, then it's kind of pointless because you can only use 188 to turn it into the tier 3 of the 90. So now that I've kind of said that out loud, I sort of realized that you don't really even need all 90 cards. Because what I was thinking was, like, if you have all 90 cards and then you decide to toss in all of the gold collectibles and carbon collectibles that are required to do all the upgrades. And again, I have realized now that you don't actually need all 90 of those. You basically just need the base ones. So I guess you got the 30 base alumni, and you've got you're gonna then use all of the gold and carbon collectibles. That process is still extremely expensive, even back when these things were going for halfway decent prices. And I now realize how ridiculously fucking stupid and retarded that entire conversation and thought process was, in fact, because especially presently, even this 87 overall, which is a base alumni card, has no value in the marketplace. It's the same thing basically as any other gold rare, which means that you can maybe convince someone to give you up to 4 or 5 thousand coins for it, but like its actual like quick sell value is now I'm getting confused with baseball. It's either 1,500 or might be higher, but I think it's 1,500. So yeah, that's all stupid now that I realize that. Yeah, so I think along the lines of what I was thinking, if I can try to salvage this just bag of garbage that I just threw out there, I guess instead, let's assume for some reason, like maybe one of your friends decided to give you control over their account, and they had done the first 2 upgrades for all 30 players. So they took this tier 187, they turned it into an 88. They took the 88 and they turned it into the 90. And they used their own gold collectibles, and like in his case, you're gonna need some carbon to be able to do that. Yeah, so now you've got all in this account, which is probably not your own, because why would you have gotten to that point already? I don't know, but so you've got the tier 3 version of all 30 cards, and a backup the base, the tier 1, because you do in fact need that for all of the steps of the upgrade process. Like you obviously need a tier 1 to turn a tier 1 into a tier 2. You also need a tier 1 and a tier 2 to turn the tier 2 into a tier 3. You also need a tier 3 and a tier 1 plus a fuck ton of expensive collectibles to get the final legend card, no matter how low or high the rating initially started for the player. So we'll go with that. We'll say that they already did the first 2 tiers for all 30 players, so they've done 60 of the 90 upgrades, which means that they basically already have one of the 2, Gretzky or Lemieux, or at least they have the collectibles for that. And then all that's left for you to do is then and they have one extra version of the tier 1 as well, right? So they've got all the player cards that are required. They've got all the legend collectibles from the first 2 tiers done. All that's left for you to do is take the tier 3 that they have for you already and the tier 1 that they have for you already, and then go out there and get /earn/trade in whatever the gold collectibles and carbon collectibles, mostly all carbon, that are required for turning the tier 3s into legends. If that was all that was required of you, which is still a lot, that's still more expensive than just buying the fucking card yourself, the Gretzky or the Lemieux, which are pure 99s across the board. One shoots on the left, one shoots on the right, and they have different synergies. It's whatever. I was doing this with this Bernie Perrin because of the previous broadcast in which the I'm trying to get back to the actual point of doing this, why I did this, just to not waste like an hour that I could have been playing a fun game. During the broadcast from earlier today, prior to starting the MLB stuff, so like 8 hours ago or more, I went ahead and opened up the Platinum Player Pack that I got from participating. It's basically just a participation trophy because I've finished in one of the highest ranks that I've ever finished in Hut Champs at like 1700 something, but everyone that's 500 plus gets the exact same thing, which is a Platinum Player Pack, which is technically, I believe, supposed to be better than a Gold Pack. And I couldn't decide when I was talking about it earlier today if it's really supposed to be considered even better than like a Gold Plus Pack or not. Who knows? Not sure. I don't think that they ever, outside of when they had them up for sale in the store through either coins or points, which points you have to pay money to get. That would have been the only time that they would have released the drop rates or odds, and those would have been drastically different, back in, say, I don't know, November, December, January, than they would be currently here in August. And like, if you say like the odds are for like an 83 plus, you're like, okay, I don't fucking care. Like that means that's like most of the numbers between 83 and 89. Sorry, not 89. Between 83 and 99, I don't give a shit about at all. There are plenty of decent like 93s and 94s even on these endgame cards that have come out, but still, there's also really bad 99 free agency cards that have been released. And then obviously compared to those, there were plenty of other earlier released 99s throughout the season that now endgame just look terrible in my opinion, but people are still playing with them and they're better at the game than I am, so it's not like I'm going to beat them because they're playing with inferior 99s to my 99s. So the actual point was, in getting the Platinum Player Pack, I got a 90 overall rated Bernie Parent. If you've been listening to what I've been saying the whole time about his tiers, that's a tier 3 alumni card. It's one step away from Legend. Again, unfortunately, probably requires, I don't know, at least 2 carbon collectibles, maybe even more than that, maybe 2, 2.5, basically 2 carbon collectibles and 5 golds. It's got to be at least 1 carbon and 5 golds, but I think it's probably 2 carbons. And then you have the grand prize of having a legend card of what at one point was one of the highest rated goldies in the game, that you can amass in the auction market if somebody actually buys it from you, like a whopping, I don't know, maybe like 25,000 coins, which is what like an 82 gold rare was going for at the beginning of the game, again 11 months ago when things were drastically different. So I thought it was cool, but also like almost every aspect of the game at this moment pretty much meaningless, and yet I did a little broadcast on it, and there wasn't much more in the pack. There was like I think there was an 83 overall base gold rare, and it wasn't Phil Kessel for once. Trying to think if I can quickly remember who it was. I don't remember, and so it doesn't matter. And so he wasn't the only gold rare that I got. There was also some gold commons in there, which could have some value still today. Maybe not what they were at one point in time, but comparatively speaking to how little value there is for basically every other aspect of the game, there's a little bit of value there. Basically just meaning more than their quick sell value. And it's the whole pack is tradable, so I can go out there and see what kind of whopping, I don't know, maybe like 9k coins I might be able to get from somebody for a tradable 90 overall Bernie Parent, who has plenty of 99 overall of the exact same player being sold on the market for considerably more than 9k. the 99s, but still. So the only point of doing this broadcast was because when I did that one, I didn't go back and check. I just assumed that when I was kind of laughing at the fact that I had that 90, I was like, well, it's kind of crazy because I have 3 untradeable 87 overall Bernie Parents in my collection that just sit there. They're like, I don't want to put them into a gold rare reroll. I'll just it's like I probably will eventually when I do the whole scorched earth at the very end of the year, which is like in 2.5 weeks. But at the moment, I still probably can't convince myself to do that. I guess unless there was like a day in which there was just, like 40 versions or equivalents of like the plays of the year Barkov that I have that is pure 99 across the board and plays not as good as I expected, but very, very good. So yeah, if there was like, for some reason, if those were supposedly available through gold rare player packs and they like decided to juice them with or without telling us, I scorch earth my entire collection all the way up to and including like, some probably 92s and 93s and stuff like that, and just kind of see if I get the complete luck of pure 99s, not just crappy 99s. So I said not all that, but some of that. I said that I think I've got 3. I felt like I knew that I had 3 untradeable Bernie Parents in my collection, and that the only reason to have more than one of those was if you were actually going to do the legend upgrades. And until they did this whole thing where like legends were suddenly available in random packs, and then also once you had those, you could trade in those with the draft collectibles to get the end game version of that player's card. I still kind of held out on the idea that I felt like day one what I wanted to be able to do was do either all or do half, I guess, of the legend upgrades, and at least have a chance of playing whether through a loan version or during a draft champions game or something like that where I don't actually own the card and can't sell it or whatever. I wanted the chance to be able to play with every single one of those 30 legend cards in the game, and I have not done that. Pretty sure. Kind of thinking about that for a second, but I'm pretty sure I've not done that. And part of that is because I didn't do the upgrades. I did them early on when I thought it was like the thing to do, because I was an idiot and I didn't know any better about the game. And I have 23 towards the required 45 to choose between either the Gretzky or the Lemieux. So completely, not only like basically pointless, but just like the absolute. If you did a cost benefit analysis, by the time you finish typing the word analysis in whatever it is that you're about to write down digitally or analog, old school with pen and paper, by the time you write down analysis, the analysis is done. It's fucking stupid to do it. It's nothing but cost and like basically no benefits other than like, hey, I completed a thing. And yes, I am very much a completionist when I can be, when things aren't just absurd to try to do. So yes, even now with 2.5 weeks left in the game, there's part of me that's like, well, I have the 23 collectibles, the legend collectibles, and I literally can't do anything with them unless, I don't know, that'd be super fucking cool if they did something crazy in September with those. For like people like me that are still hanging on to them. But while we're at that, also, I don't know, maybe give us some shit for all the other collectibles and all of the other untradeable stuff that don't have trade-ins. But whatever. Anyways, moving on. So, I was like, I was thinking like, there's no point in having those 3 untradables, especially because now I have a 90, even though it is tradable, so I could like at least do a quick sell for whatever it is, 1,500 coins, I'm assuming, maybe more. or try to get a little bit more from somebody actually buying it from me on the marketplace. Or I could use it like it's intended for the upgrade process and take that 90 with any one of the 87s, and again, probably 2 carbon collectibles, and turn it into a legend that is extremely inferior to taking that exact same thing and then adding the entry draft collectibles on top of that to create a 99, which, as I spoke about, I still probably wouldn't make as my starter, but he'd have all the synergies. So just like any other free agency goalie, he'd be my backup most likely. And I spoke very briefly, I'm not going to get into it here now, as to why I would probably go with Bernie rather than Billy Smith. And that can be funny in a second if I show you why. And obviously Johnny Bauer, who's not even as good as far as the ratings for those two. And for things that I'm looking for, like, none of those 3 are what I'm looking for out of a goalie from a starter. But Bernie is like the least worst as far as the things that he has that I don't want. So I thought all that, right? Now this year, date issued August 22nd. So I obviously just got this. What did I just get this from? I got this from a gold rare player pack where I traded in 2 gold rares that were both untradeable. One was an 80 or an 81, and the other one was like an 83. I think it was actually Vasilevsky. So interestingly, I traded in a goalie and got another goalie of a higher rating for it. Both untradeable. Traded two gold rares to get 1. This is what I just got before starting this broadcast. And I was like, all right, I got to jump on and talk about this for a second. And I went into my collection, and I kind of don't want to show the whole thing right now, which is why I'm more on this screen that doesn't even tell you that it's untradeable. But when it showed up, I was going to start the broadcast like I normally do on the recently opened pack screen to show that, like, that's where it came from. It's by itself. It shows that it's open pack, so you know it's from a gold rare player pack. It can't be from anything else unless you're just being fucking weird and you opened up like any other pack that gives untradeable cards and like sent every other card except that one to your collection. I guess you could kind of fake it that way. I was gonna say I don't have the time for that. I don't have the interest is more important, because obviously I've been doing this for like 90 minutes now and there's been no value whatsoever to this. But the reason why I didn't do that is because I got very confused. It showed it as untradeable, but it didn't show it as a duplicate. And I was like, what the fuck? How do I have 3 untradeable 87s of his, and I just got another one, and it's not showing it as a duplicate? Well, see if we can click on this really quickly here without showing the whole collection. You see him down, and then Billy Smith, that's untradeable, and a Billy Smith is untradeable. So that I had 3 of, and apparently had the had none of the Bernie Parents. Now I know for a fact that I've had the Bernie Parents, and part of me is actually thinking that in fact what I did was like go store them in the legend sets, like where you can autofill or whatever before you have all the components to do it. I've done that previously, so I very well may have done that here. And if they're over there, I guess then the game wouldn't consider those to be duplicates when opened in a new pack. And I'm kind of hoping that that's the case. Otherwise, like, clearly the joke is on me. But yeah, I just think it's funny as hell to me that kind of the best value that I got from the only other pack that I opened today was a 90 overall Tier 3 Bernie Parent alumni card that is one step away from turning it into a legend. I talked all about that and how I thought I had all these untradeable 87s. And then I get an 87 as the only other thing that I've opened in a gold rare player pack, in which you only get 1 card from that and you only get to do it once every 8 hours. So I did it once, this is what I got, and then the thing was saying you don't have, there aren't duplicates of this. So I might have actually bought this when as a which would be tradable when they initially dropped significantly in value way before this whole 99 Legend upgrade process thing started. So therefore, obviously paid way too much for it. So I may have done that because I know for a fact I've had the card, and I know for a fact I've played with the card, and not just like in a draft champions or whatever. Even though he and Billy Smith tend, at least for me, before these recent ones coming out, the majority of the draft champions games that I played just to complete that completionist thing of, I think it's 20, you got to win 25 games, and I can't win 4, so I can't win whatever that is, which I think is just like a gold rare player or something stupid, or maybe it's a gold pack. I don't even really know or care. But I've never been able to do that. I think I won 3 and came close on a 4th one time, and then just kind of gave up on it and realized it was way more efficient to just decide between winning 1 or 2. And an argument can be made that the thing you get from 1 can sometimes be better than the thing you get from 2. But either way, you can win 2 games and then just enter into the 3rd game and immediately quit it, so you don't spend any time in the actual game, because they are 20-minute periods. And obviously can have overtime and shootout after if you don't end it. And so it's like if your likelihood of winning that 3rd one is low, and your likelihood of winning the 4th one, which is the important part, is even lower, then it's like just don't even spend your time. Just quit. And I'm saying that in a game that is 11 months old, so you definitely have had 11 months of time in which you could have done any of that. But if you look at most of the players who even grinded all of the objectives and milestones and every event, whether online, competitive, offline, whatever it is, anything within HUT, they've grinded it all, except they have never played a draft champions or versus team of the week at all. Even though I don't know, I could have sworn that at one point or another, win a game against a team of the week was a daily objective requirement, one of the 4, or 5. Is it 5? Goes to show how little I pay attention nowadays. I think it's 5. There's 5 things you got to do every day if you want to complete that objective in a mostly 24-hour span to get a collectible for that month. I could have sworn, maybe I'm way off on this, but I could have sworn that at least a couple times, like maybe 3 at most, that I had as one of my requirements to win a team of the week game. But if that was a thing, it went away super early. So I get it why almost anybody that you can watch on YouTube that has certainly more than 12, 13, or 14 subscribers, has almost 100 times more than that. If they ever show their main screen long enough, you'll see that in the objectives and the milestones, the only thing that's left there is either just draft champions, which is I think the case for Thrash. So apparently he did the team of the week stuff, and I feel like most of the content that I saw of him is that he would showcase when the team of the weeks were released each week, clearly, and then he would play a game against them to kind of get a sense of the cards. And so I'd imagine doing that enough, he probably just happened to have won 25 of those games. But like No Sleeves 12 off the top of my head, and others, have both of those still listed as their objectives, having completed like literally the rest of the game. So really a true 100% completion rate, but not all the trophies if they're not doing the other modes, the franchise mode, be a pro, and all that fun jazz. So my point was, for a very long time, this card and the Billy Smith tended to be, at least from an overall rating perspective, the best that you would get in the one round in which you got a goalie. There's 12 rounds. Only one of the 12 is a goalie, and so if out of the 2 goalies that they just kind of shove into your team before you actually draft anyone. If the highest, whatever the highest rated one of those two is, that's going to be your backup, and that's going to always have an impact on the overall rating of what you're capable of drafting, even if you opt to choose in every single round simply based off of the highest overall rated card. And maybe get even crazier than that and say, okay, when there's a tie between the highest overall rating, I'm going to look at the underlying ratings and try to figure out, which one is going to help my overall team rating get that much higher, so I can just show that I had a boss draft. You're always going to get a shitty second goalie. It's part of the game. But for a very long time, this card and the Billy Smith, and sometimes the Bauer, you'd be able to choose. It'd be one of the 4 options that would pop up for you in that round, and a lot of times I would choose them, even though it didn't feel like the best option. But as soon as there were other goalie cards available in packs that were at or above those ratings, then clearly I would choose those. So that's it really. Is that I had an untradeable Perrin, and I thought it was funny as shit based off of what happened earlier today, and the fact that I haven't actually played this game today. I just kind of tuned in to open 2 packs that I had, and to get another collectible, I guess. And yeah, I'm still thinking that there's at least some chance that there are up to 3 of these sitting over in the Legend upgrade set thingamajobber, so that's why they're not showing in my collection at the moment. But maybe not. Maybe this is the only one I have, and any other ones that I would have had previously, because I know I have had them, might have been tradable and I've gotten rid of them in some form or fashion, or I don't know, maybe I had an untradeable and I decided to go ahead and drop it into a gold rare reroll, which is what basically the entire collection is going to be done in the next in 3 weeks from now at the latest. So peace out, guys, on the NHL. That's going to be it. But jump right over to the MLB one that will be listed above this on the channel, because that's going to be fun. I'm actually going to do gameplay, and I've got good cards over there, despite playing for only 2 days. I've got some diamonds, some exciting stuff. Peace out, yo.